So we have been working with Social Care Wales for about 6 or 7 months-ish. And
Mhm.
we've been helping them to set up national communities, kind of communities of practice across social care that are broadly focused on trying to help innovation find its way into practice, to kind of scale good ideas from one place to another. And a lot of that work has been on building the capacity of the people who are doing or playing the role of the community manager. And now they're getting to a place where they're actually really, really confident and great at their roles. And we're talking about some of the coaching conversations we've been having with them have been about, okay, so how do we purposefully choose the things that we bring people to convene around? So there are many options. How do we make those interactions as meaningful and as impactful as possible? And you've been kind of noodling on this, haven't you? And you started to kind of work on a bit of a model that might be useful for other people that are playing similar roles, either as a community manager or who are wrestling with the same kind of challenge. How do I make sure that I'm bringing people around the most meaningful, useful topics and themes? So you okay to talk about it? I can share it, and then perhaps you can
Yeah,
talk us through.
yeah,
Uh,
sounds good. So, as you said, we've been noodling and wrestling. The communities at Social Care Wales are trying to do a lot of different things, and they need to have impact on lots of different levels or scales. And when we were designing those communities in the first place and setting them up, we were thinking about, okay, what impact are we trying to have, and at which level, and how do we be intentional about that? And what's relevant to those communities and a lot of other communities of practice, but not all that are out there, is that they need to have an impact on the individual participants. They need to have some impact on the sector, in this example, on the social care sector in Wales, and also the wider system where social care is kind of at the heart of or connected to those systems. So yeah, that's not a small ask of a community of practice. And as we've been working with the community managers, trying to plan meetups, think about what kinds of interactions need to happen and when to think at different scales, we've just been thinking, okay, what kind of visual or what guide can help us with those planning conversations? So as we've been chatting, we've been sketching different shapes, and what we've landed on and what we're using at the moment is this triangle, this upside down triangle that goes through the different layers that the community is trying to have an impact on. So we can be looking at a meetup or an interaction that is designed to connect participants to each other, to connect participants to the wider sector or to the wider system. And actually, it's not possible to do all of those things at once. And by focusing more on connecting participants to each other, there is high positive impact on those people, but less impact on the system. And if you flip it around, it's kind of the other way around. When you're focusing more of the time on connecting to, influencing, impacting the system, then there's actually slightly less time potentially for connecting to each other, but the impact on the system is greater. So this is a shape that we've been using to help us think about, okay, so this meeting or these guests that we're inviting, who are they helping to connect the participants to? At which level are we trying to have an impact with this particular interaction? And this makes it sound something quite messy and complex, look really simple, but we've just been using it as a tool really to draw on, sketch, move arrows around, and to think, okay, being intentional about who are we trying to connect participants to in this particular interaction. And we found that pretty helpful.
yeah, I think it's so useful. And one of the conversations that we were having yesterday was that given where the communities are at, they're still relatively kind of nascent.
Mm,
Doing a lot of the stuff at the top level, connecting people to one another, is actually really important and kind of necessary to be able to do some of the stuff lower down, because relationships are an important part of any community, and you need to be able to draw on them in order to have a kind of wider influence. So what we're kind of
yeah.
expecting that will happen in these communities is that at the moment there's kind of more of that stuff at the top, but then as time goes on, we can be a bit more intentional about kind of reaching downwards, I suppose. Is that fair to say, do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely. And, we would expect the majority of the activity to be about participants connecting to each other. They are a community and they are there to learn from each other and support each other. So, yeah, that will carry on being where the majority of the activity is focused. But there's an interesting conversation to have around the role of the community manager. When do they act as that broker and connector to move down across that triangle, and when is the appropriate time to do that? When is there enough trust built between the participants that you can now start thinking about bringing others from the system into the conversation, or having your community engage with the wider sector? So yeah, it's been a good thing to help doodle on whilst we're having these important conversations.
Yeah, thanks so much. Oh, well, cheers for sharing. I think that's really useful for anybody that's working on this kind of stuff. I hope you find it helpful. And if you want to learn more about it, then just reach out and ask us for more thoughts. We'll be happy to give them.
Yes.
Thanks, Gunnar.
Cheers.